Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining the channel today. I'm Dane, your host of the Rock and Metal Guardian. Hope you're doing well this holiday season. Today's episode is called Light and Shade Part 1, ranking my top 30 favorite songs that shift from slow to heavy. Now, before we dive right into the list, I need to talk about, well, what do I mean by shift from slow to heavy? Well, one of the qualifications or criteria or elements is that these songs have to represent, as the title suggests, the combination of light and shade, borrowing that philosophy of Jimmy Page's. So when he was moving away from the Yardbirds into the new Yardbirds, which of course becomes Led Zeppelin, he posited this idea to his bandmates and management of this notion of fusing or combining both electric and acoustic guitar, and of course other light and shade elements like different vocal ranges and that sort of thing. So it's about everything: bass, guitar, drums. But being a guitar player, that's what he was, focusing on. But it branches off into much else as well. And so these songs must possess both light and shade. They can't just be slow ballads. They can't just be heavy. They have to the combination of both. They have to possess an epic feel or vibe. They don't have to be epic in length. Many of them are, but they don't have to be long. But they may give you that vibe of longness, if you will, or epic scope. It could be thematically, lyrically, that sort of thing. And there's none of this back and forth between slow and heavy. I want to make sure that's clear. What I mean is that these songs will start off slow and have some slowness or acousticness or whatever you want to call it for a while. And then is this gradual buildup in intensification where it becomes heavy and stays heavy for the most part. So we're not counting songs that bounce back and forth. That will be a separate video. That's my part 2. So what I mean is, so the first half or the first third or the first fourth or whatever is the slow part in the build-up. So there's some time involved. So we're going to leave out songs like Battery by Metallica or Fight Fire with Fire, where you have an acoustic intro but it's too brief. Or same thing with the Rushes in the end. You have a slow part but it doesn't last long enough. Same thing with Don't Talk to Strangers by Dio. You have that soft-spoken bit, but then it gets heavy soon thereafter. So we're going to leave those out as well. Now, a brief thing to say here is an exception to some of these songs is that at the end or conclusion of the song, there will be a outro or a fade out that goes back to that light or that acoustic or that slow stuff. But for the most part, the finale is heavy, okay, or intense, or that kind of thing. So just wanted to make sure that you following along with this, because the bouncing back and forth where it can start heavy or start slow and it bounces back and forth in between will be my part 2. So I'm working on that too. And then finally, before we start into the rankings, some of these are 2 songs that are back to back on a CD or album, but there's no break between the two. So for many of us, rather, we count them as one song, and you'll see what I mean, and it fits quite well. So no break between the 2 songs. And it gives that vibe of this is really one piece, maybe a mini suite, that sort of thing. So let's dive in right now. So number 30, again, this is a ranking. My favorite, my 30th favorite song that starts off slow and builds up to heaviness would be, this might be a stretch for some of y'all, is Hey Jude by the Beatles. Okay, just great, powerful song from start to finish, but you do get that intensity factor with the Fab Four in the last, I guess, fifth of the song. Okay, next, and this might be a surprise for many of you, is Cry Me a River from Aerosmith. So their cover song on Rockin' a Hard Place. It's the closer on side A of the vinyl release. And man, talk about one of their best, they're known for doing a cover song on all of their albums up to a point, I think, up to and including Rockin' a Hard Place. But it's slow, it's paced, but boy, when Steven Tyler's voice kicks in a heavy style of singing, so again, it's not just about guitar, acoustic and electric, it's also about the phrasing and the build-up and the voice, that sort of thing. You'll see what I mean in addition to the song. So Cry Me a River by Aerosmith on Rockin' a Hard Place, just when he goes into that more heavy style of phrasing, and he takes his vocals up a few notches, right? And then the drums kick in. It's just amazing. So I gotta count this is a great song in my humble opinion. Next, this one was not a shock to anyone. 28 is Hotel California by Eagles, and of course, if you're an Eagles fan, I'm not their biggest fan, but I do appreciate their earlier stuff before Vince Gill joins. And no offense to Vince Gill, but I like the two lineups that they have before they got back together for Hell Freezes Over, and that's okay. But once that's said and done, I'm not much of an Eagles fan after that, if at all. But so Hotel California, you got this slow build up to the twin guitar solo of Don Felder and Joe Walsh, just fabulous. Next, another no surprise here is Free Bird by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Same thing. You have a slow section that's very long, and then finally you get to the build-up, which is glorious. It's amazing. It's phenomenal. And the joke I used to tell with my students is, you could go grocery shopping, come back, and they're still soloing towards the end. But anyway, that's of course a fun hyperbole that I do. You could take a shower and they're still going at it. But anyway, so got to include Free Bird here from Skynyrd. Next is one of the pairings that I was talking about, where you have two songs that combine, really make up one song. 26 is Funeral for a Friend / Love Lies Bleeding from Elton John on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And I have my dad to thank for my love and fascination with this album. Next, number 25 is Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Most of the song, half of it or 2/3 of it, is just the Jerome singing from Ozzy, almost kind of a talking more than a singing, and then he steps it up just a notch, and then you get the riffing that comes in that gives the heaviness, is this the end, my friend, right, that part, and then you go from there. A great song, great horror song. Next, a 2-in-1 song, Def Leppard's Bringing on the Heartbreak / Switch 625. I cannot listen to Bringing Out the Heartbreak without hearing the heavy instrumental piece that follows. I don't listen to the radio much anymore, but if I am partaking in that and this song comes on the radio, they never play the follow-up part. I have to come home quickly, put down when I have my keys in my wallet, groceries, whatever, and play Switch 625 to have that closure, that fulfillment. So I count these as one song. It works better that way. 23 is Road to Madness by Queensryche, the closer song on Warning. Just fabulous. When they did this live, when I saw them for I've seen Queensryche like 6 times, so I can't remember. But it was, I want to say it was before the Building Empire tour, but either way, it was fantastic. Next, being a resident of New Orleans, born and raised here, I have to include Zebras, Who's Behind the Door. Very reminiscent of Styx's Come Sail Away, because the whole UFO thing, but much heavier, of course, than Styx's song. And so I gotta give props to Zebra. I just think this is a fabulous song. So Who's Behind the Door by Zebra. Next, number 21, early childhood here. We're talking about Carry On My Wayward Son from Kansas. Next, number 20, Phoenix from Wishbone Ash. Another Black Sabbath song coming in at number 19, Megalomania on my favorite Black Sabbath album, Sabotage. Just an amazing song. Next, this may shock or surprise many people, but I have to include Love to Love by UFO. If you want to put Electric Phase in front of that, that would count as 2, as a 1, but even Love to Love by itself without Electric Phase in front of it, you have that slow build up and then it gets heavy, because the ending part is just an amazing guitar solo, so I'm counting that. Next, should be no surprise here, is Hallowed Be Thy Name from Iron Maiden. The intro slow part may be a little brief, so I may be cheating here, but I'm counting it. Next is Mistreated from Deep Purple on the Burn album. Next, number 15 is Astronomy from Blue Oyster Cult. Obviously it's one of my favorites because it made the list. So that's the first 15. Now cracking the top 14 this should not be a surprise. From Exit Stage Left, Brune's Bane / The Trees from Rush. This next one is so near and dear to my heart. Mistral Wind from Heart on the debut album. 12, Paradise the Spell from Uriah Heep. Now this next one is just, wow, it barely makes the top 10, and the one that is top 10 is a companion piece to this one because they're from the same band, and they have, so this is the second album with Ronnie James Dio on Mob Rules, Over and Over. You have the slow build up, and then you get this amazing guitar solo, and Tommy Iommi's just shredding his heart out. I remember when Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules came out, and back in the day when you had Yahoo Chat, it was popular. I don't even know if you could still do that, but I remember getting online and talking in a Black Sabbath forum, a chat room, and one guy was saying, "Boy, Tommy really came along with his guitar skills, because in those early Black Sabbaths he's not shredding like that well." Regardless, I'm sure he could always play that way. I could be wrong, but anyway, I just love the song Over and Over again on Mob Rules. And of course, cracking my top 10 is the slightly better but follows the same formula. Both of these are closers of the albums. Over and Over closes Mob Rules, talking about Lonely Is the Word by Black Sabbath on Heaven and Hell. Both of these songs have great lyrics. If we go back to Over and Over for a minute, there's that part where Ronnie sings, sometimes he feels life is just made of paper. What great lyrics, right? And Lonely Is the Word. Again, Tony Iommi just shredding his heart out the last couple minutes of the song. These are so powerful, so emotive. They're just fantastic, if you ask me. These two don't seem to make many people's list for this category. Next, number 9, Diary of a Madman from Ozzy Osbourne on the Diary of a Madman album. Just love the song. You have that kind of Carmina Burana section in the song with the background vocals leading up to the climactic end. These songs are all about moving into that powerful, intense climax, right? Just amazing. These are some of my favorite songs of all time, as well as the Part 2 video. These 60, because the Part 2 will be 30 songs as well, these 60 songs are just so near and dear to my heart. They never get old. So number 9, Diary of a Madman. Number 8 is Fight the Good Fight from Triumph. Just a great song, thematically rich, preachy, and yet a good kind of preachiness, right? How to live your life. Not quite Simple Man from Lynyrd Skynyrd, but still amazing. And that when that guitar solo hits, that guitar part hits you in the middle of the song, or the last third or whatever from Emmett Band, is just, I just cannot say enough good things about this song. Triumph is just hitting on all cylinders on the song and those album. All right, next, number 7, should be no surprise to anyone, Sweet Madam Blue from Styx. When you have that slow build-up and you eventually get to, you hear the sustain of Tommy Shaw's guitar come in, and that sustain just rings in the air for, some few hot seconds, and then it gets heavy, right? It's just, wow. Just, oh man. I cheesed some of my friends off when I used to work at a record store, and we'd play this, and I'd say all the time, man, I just love the sustain on that guitar. And they, okay, Dane, we get it. You said this a million times. Well, I can't help the way I feel it, so I get goosebumps just talking about it or thinking about it. Number 6, again, one of those no surprises, Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen. Okay, little mini opera there, rock opera. Next, number 5, Black Diamond from Kiss. Out on the Street for a Living. This has only begun, very soft-spoken from Peter Criss. One of the greatest Peter Criss vocals you'll ever find in the Kiss discography when he was in the band, and then it gets heavy. Number 4 is a companion to this one, very similar. Rock Bottom from Kiss, of course, and Paul Stanley covering most of the lead vocals here, if not all. And you have that classical piece that begins, it's about a couple minutes long, and then it gets heavy, right? And in the acoustic version on Unplugged, before it gets heavy, Paul chimes in and goes, "This is where it gets rough," right? Just great. I love these two songs. And this I've never seen this next song on lists like this from other content creators, and that's Starless from King Crimson on the Red album. He had the slow, soft-spoken bit, which is quite long, from John Wetton in the group, and just very emotive. You have like this the almost like a soundtrack quality, soundscapey feel. It just captivates you. It's enticing. It gives you goosebumps. It's very, like I said, soundtracky feel, but great. And then slowly but surely you get this dun 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 from the not the drums, but the drum parts that accompany the drums. I'm sorry, the percussion pieces like triangle and stuff, and then you get some small cymbal hush crashes, right? And then all of a sudden you get this blaring saxophone this amazing saxophone that comes in, and then all of a sudden the drums are going full force. And then, but what's great about this, when it kicks in, just when you think they've shifted into the final gear, there's another gear, and then there's another gear, and then there's another gear. It's kind of like the guitar solo from Schenker in Rock Bottom, that UFO song, where you think Shatner's reached his peak for the gear for the guitar piece, but then it goes up even more. Just reaching for more and more gears. It's like, wow, it just blows you away. It gets jazzy, it gets funky, it gets heavy metal. So you have this great slow song the first half, and then the second half is just amazing drums and percussion, no vocals, just drums, percussion, amazing bass, saxophone. Oh my God, guitar from Fripp. It's heavy and light, but the heavy section is just that's why it's number 3, because I could talk to him blue in the face about the song. It's funky at times. It's jazz. It's funk. It's heavy metal, and it's just amazing. And it's classical. It fits all the jazz fusion / prog boxes. Right? It's great. Number 2, Dreamer Deceiver / Deceiver from Judas Priest. Wow. Another song I can't talk enough about. I just love the song. Halford singing in a lower register, very calming and peaceful. But boy, when that Deceiver part kicks in, oh, and then of course it ends with an acoustic outro. But man, it is heavy. That last section. I love the song. Finally, it's a cliched choice for my number 1, but I have to go with how I feel, and I'm going with Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. This is the one that maybe inspired everything else that follows. Maybe. Again, slow build up, and then once that, when if there's a bustle in your hedgerow, and then a couple of seconds after that, pretty much, it kicks in with the drums, and then the guitar solo, one of the best, if not the best, guitar solo of all time. This, for me, never gets old. It's gotten old for Robert Plant himself, but hey, for us fans, many of us, or if not most of us, this is just a great song, and it's timeless, as cliched as it sounds. So here you go, everyone. These are my favorite 30 songs of all time, where you have first section, the half, third, quarter, fifth of the song is a slow build up, and then you get the heavy intensity piece. So I'm going to do a part 2 that I'm working on, again, called Light and Shade Part 2, where I'll talk about songs that are similar, but they don't have the first part is slow, second part is all heavy. This video, this part 2, will be about this ping-ponging back and forth between heavy and light, or light and shade. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Have a great day.